What's good, y'all? Welcome to another episode of Fan Bro Show, a very special episode of Fan Bro Show right here for all nerds, the voice of the urban geek, all that good stuff. But like I said before, this is a special episode of Fan Bro Show because this is the Ant-Man and the Wasp review. No spoilers at first, but we'll get into all that a little later. But we're gonna cover all the themes, all that good stuff. But let me introduce myself. It's your boy DJ Benhameen, aka Lightwork Yagami, aka keep that same energy on when you see me, aka Doctor Who's Mans is this, aka Black Goliath, aka the Beverly Shillbilly.
That's Blue Black Goliath, like that's Midnight Goliath. Mahogany.
Darkness.
Mahogany, yeah, darkness Goliath. Woo! Yeah, we gonna be lit tonight, folks, as you already see and know. But let me introduce my co-host. As always, I'm joined by
Tatiana King Jones, the Grand Duchess of Tech, also known as Gem and the Hollow Fam, also known as Emma Frosted Flakes, also known as Princess Preach, also known as Victoria's Secret Wars, also known as Flex Luthor, also known as Lambo Calrissian, also known as E Honda Civic.
Victoria's Secret Wars.
It was like way too easy, so I had to do that one.
Way too easy, but well done. And of course, in the third seat we have
Jeff J, aka the Ocarina of Timelines, Earth, Wind, and Firestorm, Han Soul Glow, Bagger Vance, Astro, Legion and Juice, Vax the Destroyer, and it's hard out here for a Pim.
I had to think about it for a minute. Like, wait,
I did too.
Let it hit.
Very nice. Well done, Jeff.
Well done. It's hard out here for a Pim, and yes, it is hard out here for a Pim because Ant-Man and the Wasp will be dropping this Friday. Right? Are we early? I can't remember. I don't know what day it is anymore.
Actually, it releases July 6th.
Oh,
so we got a little bit more to go.
Look how exclusive the Fan Bros are. Brush your shoulders off.
That's how much we don't have. Never been nowhere, man. We don't even know. We're early. Oh my God.
Yeah, don't know how to act right now. Obviously, but yeah, Ant-Man and the Wasp will drop July 6th, and we have all seen it already. And basically, right off the bat, I thought it was fantastic. I thought it was one of the funnier Marvel movies. I think it's funny. It's as funny as Thor Ragnarok, but in a different way. It's not like the constant barrage of jokes. And it's a lot more heartfelt to me than maybe some of the, not every Marvel movie, but this one is definitely family oriented and really hits home on the family tip.
Absolutely. I would agree with you. Since we're starting at it, just generally speaking.
Yep.
I found the film, I got what I expected, and I was pleased and I was entertained. So this was around the same vein as the first Ant-Man movie in terms of the speed of the story, in terms of the characters, in terms of, as you mentioned, the family friendliness of it. And by saying that, I actually get scared when people use those terms, because some people take that to mean it was tame, and that's not what that was. If you enjoyed the first Ant-Man, you're absolutely going to enjoy this, because the comedy in this, I would say it's in the same exact level. I actually thought the first Ant-Man was a little bit funnier, but that's also because the writing style for this one is more skit based. It's almost like that. Like there's lots of back and forth one-liner type of things. It's really like Paul Rudd's type of comedy, if you've ever seen any of the other work that he's been in. That being said, he's still very funny. That being said, the other characters, they have their moments and it's balanced. So I had a good time watching this movie. I thought it was energetic. I thought it was funny. I really thought what stood out the most was the action scenes. The action really makes you fall in love with the character of Ant-Man and then all the supporting people thereof. And generally, as a full overview of the MCU, this fits in perfectly like a Lego block. The way that they've written it so efficiently that it seamlessly ties into what happens in Infinity War and what's going to happen going forward.
Yeah, I agree with everything Tatiana said. I thought Ant-Man and the Wasp was a good film. I had fun watching it. As someone who enjoyed the first one, I thought the sequel was a great follow-up. It definitely was a good woo-saw moment from all of the stuff that happened
Yeah.
in Infinity War. But you know, it is what it is, what it is, and what it is. It's a funny movie. One thing that I will say is the way they use the special effects. Ant-Man was Ant-Manning a lot.
And it was great.
The way they diversified the effects for Ghost and Ant-Man and the Wasp, the Quantum Verse, all of that just looked, it had its own identity, had its own personality, and it all hit. If you watch this movie for anything, you watch it for the jokes and you watch it for the cool special effects. But the story that they tell is also good, and it deals with the other side of what was going on in Infinity War. We knew that Scott Lang and Hawkeye were put on house arrest. So while all that stuff was going on in the movie and all the death and destruction, Scott is just trying to get off and try to make it to parole so that he could go outside again. And it's wild to think that other things were going on before the big snap. And we get to see the other side and what he's up to. And I think it was a good addition to the whole Phase 4.
Yep. And it's also like a follow-up to Civil War because of that, because you also see, you know, the effects of Civil War in this, because you see Stroud on house arrest.
Because of that, yeah,
because of Civil War. And so it's like it ties into both sides, Civil War and then into Infinity War, especially, you know, at the very end, but we'll get into that a little later. But as far as I love the action, I want to give a big shout out to I'm gonna butcher her name as I do, Evangeline Lilly, who is I mean, she's, you know, from Lost, is one of my favorite people. You know, just her character on Lost Tape was one of the best ever. And I was so happy to see her get her shine in this. She has some particular action moments that I won't spoil at all because they're so incredible. And I hadn't seen them in any of the trailers yet. Like you were saying, how they meshed the abilities of Ghost with the abilities of Ant-Man / Giant Man and the Wasp and their fight scenes. They had one to me that reminded me of the car chase in The Matrix 2 when the ghosts are in the car, when the two guys with the dreads on the car and they're doing all the things. But not only did they have somebody using powers like that, they also had somebody jumping sizes and all this stuff. So it was different than The Matrix and ill in its own way. So, no, the effects were great. It was, you know, the family part, everything. I don't know. It's one of these films where it's like, I really can't say
something negative.
It really
something bad challenge.
Say something bad, right? Well,
bad challenge.
Well, we should definitely talk about the different characters, especially the new ones. And again, while not super new, she was new in the sense that the focus was largely on her a lot. Evangeline Lilly, as you mentioned, outstanding job as Wasp, outstanding job as Janet Van Dyne. She can act her ass off.
She's Hope.
Hope Van Dyne. Her mom's Janet. As Freudian slip. Does an outstanding job just acting. Period. You can give her a script and trust that she's going to carry it out to wherever place you need to take it. I believed in her the moment she jumps on screen, and she jumps on screen with a bang, really. When she really first gets into action, first gets into her suit, when you see her doing her thing, you are taken aback a bit, like, oh, damn, she's going full speed, 0 to 60. So I like that about her, that you immediately believe that she is this character. You immediately believe that she is this superhero or soon to be superhero. Her collaboration with Paul Rudd as Ant-Man, perfect combination. You feel the chemistry there. There's not one point where you're just like, oh, I don't think they need to be together. No, like they work peanut butter and jelly perfectly.
Yes.
Yeah. When it between the action scenes, but also just the one-offs, just having conversations with each other, you can tell that they actually like each other in real life, like they're friends and they're cool with each other, and it plays off on screen as well. Yes, there's the romantic element, but you can tell that they F's with each other. So I'm trying not to curse on here, but you can tell that they have a great working relationship and a great relationship in terms of building this greater project. So she was a fantastic point in this movie, and I want to see her so much more. Like I can see a standalone Wasp film right now.
Yeah, easily. Or like they've been talking about an all-women Avengers film. You know, the
A-Force
type film.
A-Force.
Yeah. I could definitely see that. I mean, or even Wasp and the Ant-Man as the third film. You know, since you did Ant-Man and the Wasp, do Wasp and Ant-Man. But I guess alphabetically it still works the first way. So
yeah. Michelle Pfeiffer.
Oh wait, I mean, you know, it's Michelle Pfeiffer.
Just perfect, right?
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. It's like, you know, I mean, you know, when you have Douglas and Pfeiffer, it's like you have people in there who like, come on now, these are champs. You know, the people you have to worry about are the Paul Rudds and the Evangeline Lilly, and they both, you know, to me, I already knew Evangeline was from, like I said before, from Lost. She's had, you know, every range of emotion on screen you can imagine, been through it, done that. So, and Paul Rudd is, you know, this is a dude who's been funny, been doing movies forever. And this is like, you know, kind of like his Ryan Reynolds role where this is his big moment. So he's killing it. So yeah, you know, Michael Pena, like, come on. I mean,
yeah. So his role as Luis, I know some people have issues with it the first time around, and they're gonna have more. Right. from
that car though.
So the first movie, for those who don't know, I personally didn't have a problem, but that's, you know, I'm not the person of target here, but people had issue with Luis. They felt that Michael Pena overplayed, or maybe the movies, the director themselves overplayed his the Chicano nature of his character. Like they thought that he was playing more of a caricature as opposed to just someone who happens to be Chicano. I don't know. Like, I'm not Chicano, so I can't say whether or not he overdid it. Any of you guys have any particulars on that?
I mean, have you seen Michael Pena in other stuff?
I was gonna say he does that. Like, that's kind of his shtick. Like, to me, he didn't behave any differently than normal.
It's like getting mad at George Lopez for George Lopezing when he's on stage, playing on what he does as a comedian. I mean, I've seen Michael Pena in other stuff like it. Like, that's Michael Pena playing a role. Like, I don't know. Yeah. I mean, I guess I'm not going to take away anybody's criticism of the role if they feel that it's a little bit over exaggerated. I'm not going to take that away from you. I was telling you before on the train, I just feel like we have to have a baseline for comedy and certain things where, you know, all right, this is what they're doing. Take it as a whole for what they're doing. And if you still feel like it's a caricature, then, you know, so be it. That's your opinion. You can do that. I personally did not think it was like that. I didn't get that. Yeah, I could see the stereotypes. Like there's a car that he drives.
Yeah. That's like, I mean, they definitely threw the stereotypes in there.
Joke of if you've heard jokes before or whatever, it's like heavy on the stereotypes. So I will concede that point.
Yeah.
But other than that, overall, I just think that's who his character is. And I just didn't I never got that. So
I think the biggest problem is that, especially on the big screen, Marvel has such a lack of Latino characters and, you know, Latinx characters like they do on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., you know, and other TV shows, etc. But on the big screen, I think it's Michael.
Right. Michael and who? I mean,
yeah. So I think that becomes the biggest problem there.
I think there's a few Afro-Latino actors that are in the mix as well. Yeah, like Zoe. But generally speaking, to your point, yeah, he's the most prominent at this point. And I'm trying to think, are there any MCU movies that are as culturally dynamic as the Ant-Man movies? Because I'm looking at the cast, literally a line of pictures of the cast, and as I was watching the movie, I just felt like it really was in San Fran, where you can run into many different types of people. You had your Asian people, you had the Southeast Asian people, you had Black people, you had white people. Like, you had a pretty good melting pot of different types of people being shown on screen in various different positions. So I'm not sure if I've recall another MCU movie that's built like that. Like to me, it was more pronounced in this movie than anything else. I'm not sure if anyone else. Well, I noticed it like immediately.
Yeah, it felt comfortable. It felt normal. If you into the Bay Area, it's kind of like that, you know, major city melting pot. But I definitely, I got that impression. I liked Abby Ryder Fortson's role as Cassie.
Oh my God.
Oh, the little girl. Yeah. The daughter.
Off as a cliche little kid in the movie. She was real like precocious for her age.
Yeah.
If I do any dirt with anybody, it's gonna be with Cassie because she holds it down.
Oh, she holds it down.
She holds it down. Like, you know, she's like the type, if something goes down, you know, as a little kid, she's not gonna be the one to snitch. She's not gonna be the one to snitch. So she holds it down. She's a great addition to the movie. I know she was in it in the first one, but just like this one, I think she gives that extra flavor to show you why Scott is trying not to mess up his life anymore, and this is who he's doing it for. And you get the idea from her presence and what she's saying and how she loves her dad, why it matters, and she adds to his character with that while making her own mark.
She read like a real little kid. Like she didn't read as too precious to me. She didn't read as too cute, like trying to put on airs. Like some of the child actors, you can tell is like, okay, girl, I know you think you're 28 years old and you're really 9, but calm down. Like she reads more genuine than a lot of child actors act out there. So she was really lovely to watch in her interactions with Paul as well. Thoughts on Michael Douglas?
I mean, once again, like I said, back to Michelle Pfeiffer, it's like Michael Douglas. These are people.
Well, I was gonna say I love him as ornery as Hank Pym. Like he is the old man yells at a cloud type guy, but but because a lot of people remember when he was first cast, a lot of people were like, "How are they gonna do this?" Because they just said he's old. So how's he gonna bring that character across? But I like that they've dug a little deeper. Like I call him old man yells at a cloud, but they give him more motive and understanding and flesh him out just a bit more versus just being some old scientist guy that's just yelling all the time. Yeah.
And no, because I mean, he gets a lot more because you see his interaction with his whole family in this one. And there's just like, you know, everything is just more pronounced. And like something you were talking about, how it's such a diverse cast. I think that's one of the real strengths of this film is that I didn't even really notice that because it just felt normal. You know, it felt normal to have this diverse cast. It felt normal for the Wasp to be kicking ass alongside Ant-Man. It felt normal for her to, you know, have a more pronounced role and to have more speaking and to do more in this film. And like I went to the conference, and at the press conference, the director and stuff was talking about how the first film you see, obviously, that Hope is more capable than Ant-Man. You know,
way more capable.
It's obvious in the first film. But it's because of her strained relationship with her father that she gets held back from, you know, her own opportunities. So in this one, that relationship has been repaired, and it's more about, you know, finding their mom. And so I just loved everything about it when it came to all those little things, how it just felt normal to see all these different things that people don't get to see enough, like women being kick-ass people on screen, as well as intelligent, strong, et cetera, et cetera. Kids not just being some little, oh, I'm cute, you know, kids, but like really having their own personality and everything.
Lawrence Fishburne as Bill Foster. No special thoughts about him? And if you don't have special thoughts, that's something to talk about, man. Because if you think that the movie doesn't do any, you know, doesn't go bad or good without him, he's kind of just there. Is that how you feel?
Don't be trying to make stuff up, Ben. I see you like trying to twist it.
Right, I see him trying to twist it. Like, tell the truth, Ben. How do you feel?
Larry,
the people want to know.
He kind of collected a check, I think. You know, I mean,
tell the truth. I mean, that's how you feel. That's how you feel.
What else did you want him to do?
That's the thing. That's what I'm thinking about. Like, okay, there's certain stuff I can't really, you know, talk about until we really get into spoiler territory.
Right.
And
so here's my thing while Ben thinks it over. I see where you're coming from, but I think that's also purposely done in terms of, like you said, his role isn't as required as you thought it would be, but that's because there's something more coming.
Yes, that's what I would say. And I feel like he hasn't gotten a chance to really dig deep into that. But at the same time, because his role is so nuanced, I'm not sure if he ever will get to like dig deep into that.
Right.
I mean, I guess should just get into, well, no.
Can you just explain for those who don't know who Bill Foster is, like who he represents, and he even says it in the trailer, so we're not giving anything away.
Oh yeah, no, Bill Foster represents Black Goliath. Bill Foster was Black Goliath, which is one of the worst names ever, obviously. But
they changed it to just Goliath after a while.
Yeah, I know. I mean, obviously, who wouldn't? But Bill Foster was working alongside Hank Pym, and he, you know, got the Pym particles from him and gained the ability to grow in size. So he was Black Goliath because he's black.
That's it. He serves no other special purpose in Marvel, Ben.
So
well, I mean, he actually served one of the worst purposes in Marvel ever, because in the comic books, Black Goliath Bill Foster was killed by a Thor clone to set off the original Civil War. And so he was like basically, as they call women in refrigerators, when he was just used to further the story. Like they just murdered off Bill Foster for no reason. It was really terrible. And people, you know, to this day have still been kind of upset. But at the same time, it's not like they ever really used him in the comics like that, where he really got that shine until he got killed.
I was just upset because he was black and he died, and I felt like it was a scary movie trope where he just died. Yeah. Past that, I mean, Black Goliath, whatever you want to call him, was the 13th member on the 12th bench in Marvel. I never cared for him. I ain't know his mama. I ain't know his daddy. I don't know where his grandma stayed. I really right. Like all right, cool. You know, I'm damn, bro. I'm sorry. Another brother got lost in the superhero struggle. But past that's why when I look at Lawrence Fishburne's role, like, dude, he could have played Junior's dad from Blackish, and I would have been like, all right.
It would have still been the same guy.
Still been the same thing for me.
Yeah.
He played a role as an intelligent black man who's a scientist who got spurned by his partner, and now he's looking to do things his own way, which is probably the plight of a lot of black scientists out there. So I think acting wise, he did his thing.
Yeah.
I can't fault you. Just like they say in sports, you play your schedule. You play the games that are in front of you. So I'm not going to fault you if you play inferior talent. If he just got a simple role to play and he plays the hell out of it, I can't be mad because he didn't give more, because more wasn't allotted to him.
Right. Yeah. To be quite simple about it, his character doesn't necessarily have any distinguishing characteristics, but not yet. So I'm holding out hope based on a few of my hypotheses in the back of my head that will actually grow further. But if you're basically, I'm saying all that to say this. If you're looking to come to this movie to see, what they about to do with Black Goliath and Bill Foster, the answer is nothing. The answer is nothing.
And if you dead ass were,
some people were like, yo, Black Goliath.
You need to get into a time machine and go watch The Matrix in 1999, because it's been 20 years.
There's your Black Goliath, because I don't know who was clamoring for black. Like,
but that's not to say that. That's not to say that his character is not important, because that's absolutely for his character is incredibly important.
Yes.
So
I want to clear that up earlier. Like you said, I'm not saying that he did a bad job. It's just like Lawrence Fishburne is Lawrence Fishburne. I can't recall the last time that Lawrence Fishburne has ever done a bad job.
But even still, like, I know that we would want to know, like, did he do a bad job? Did he do a good job?
No.
Like, we want to, you know what I'm saying? We want you to.
Lawrence Fishburne is Lawrence Fishburne. He's the god. You know, the man's been acting since he was 16 years old on Apocalypse Now. He's one of the greatest.
Well, there's actors who've been acting since they were 2, and they're still bad actors. So,
well, he ain't one of them.
Yeah. Thoughts on Hannah John Kamen as Ghost?
Loved her a lot. And I've had, because I never didn't know anything about her, and I'd heard people that had seen her and other stuff, and they were like,
Well, most recently, I remember seeing her in Ready Player One as she played Finale, which was the boss's henchman, basically.
I mean, Ready Player One, the less said about that, the better. So back to this film, I thought that, she was excellent. I thought she conveyed Ghost's struggle, why she was struggling, her reasoning for being a villain in this film. It was all there, and I loved it,
Yeah. One thing I wanted to stress is, because some people are going to think this is going to play like most of the Marvel movies, where there is a specific big bad and then everybody's trying to defeat the big bad. That's not what this is. Mm-hmm. And the trailers are making it to be like that, but it's a lot more. there is no big bad per se.
Yeah.
There is a big situation happening. Let's say that. It's a big situation that pulls in every single last character and will, of course, have lasting effects on the rest of the MCU, especially because all this stuff is happening concurrently with the events of Infinity War.
I wouldn't even say that as Ghost. The Ghost character is a villain in Marvel, but in this, I wouldn't say that she's the trademark definition villain.
She's not.
Literally just somebody who's been put in a position where she needs what Pym and them have, and gonna go and do whatever she has to do. And it wouldn't have if it wasn't Pym, if it was somebody else, she just got to do what she do. So I don't think that there's anything malicious or evil about it, but you know, you get put into a corner and your back is against the wall and it's fight or flight.
Now see, that can be argued with a lot of people though. Then you could say the same thing about Thanos. You could say that his back was against the wall.
Yeah, and
right, because Thanos needs help.
Your back being
what's his back against the wall about?
Than that.
Nobody's coming to come destroy his house. Nobody's coming to come kill him. Like, well, what's his back against the wall for exactly?
His back against the wall was that he believed that people were, going to destroy the universe, and he needed to clean it up.
Keyword: he believed.
Was
anybody sending anybody after him? Was he not living his best life because of anybody else?
Yes, he was not living his best life. His people had been died. His people were not. He was not living his best life.
Yeah, that's called psychosis, man.
So what about
back against the wall?
For you to say Thanos had his back against the wall tripped me out. There is no weak point about Thanos except for when it comes to Gamora. Why is Gamora?
I just root for my hero of Avengers Forward. I mean, that's all I'm saying.
Wow.
Hey,
Wow. Any thoughts on anybody else in the cast that you want to pinpoint that particularly stuck out, or any bad or good?
Not really. Yeah, T.I. and I thought he was good. I thought he was T.I.
Did T.I. play himself again?
Nah, his name was Dave, bro. Like, he didn't play himself.
Stop. It was.
Stop lying. Well, his character's name was Dave.
No,
but...
I didn't know
played
that.
by T.I.
Yeah, it's played by T.I. Not Tip Harris. It's played by T.I. Yeah, he was good. This role suits him. It works for him. This ensemble really works. I love those scenes of all three of them. My man reacting to finally seeing the ghost was just, amazing. Absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
That was one of
So since both of you have read the books, can you tell me what your thoughts were of Ghost's portrayal in the film versus what you know about Ghost in the comics?
I'm a big fan of the old Ghost. There's been like two different people to wear that suit, and it's been a dude in the comics both times, and he's usually a lot more ruthless and doesn't have this backstory that this one had, that actually had reasoning, like y'all said, the back against the wall and all that. The dude is more, especially when he first showed up in Iron Man, he was just cold-blooded. But that's why I loved him, because he was this dude who fought Iron Man, who could phase in and out of everything, and Iron Man couldn't do much against him. And he was so cold-blooded that he was really scary. That's the Ghost I remember was really scary at first.
Yeah. I saw shades of that scary. Like they dialed it. They dialed it back because it's Marvel. They're not going to even show blood half the time. Yeah. But I saw with Hannah John's portrayal, I saw those shades of how scary that could be. Like when she's just walking, phasing in and out of a damn desk, and all she's doing is walking towards somebody. But that is terrifying. Like if you can imagine. Think about, the only person else I think about immediately is Vision. The fact that you could just walk through anything, matter, immaterial, people, just everything. That's terrifying.
I can say this without spoiling. There's something that she does in this film that was reminiscent of things I've seen Vision do only in the comics. That is one of his most terrifying use of his power. And that was something I was like, oh, that's dope. So no, the way they used her power, the way they used the phasing, all the different aspects of it was so ill, and definitely brought that horror or like fearful element to it.
Right. The suit was fucking dope.
Oh, sick.
The suit was sick. I was explaining to Jeff, it literally reminds me of a Hunter class character on Destiny. Like almost exactly what a Hunter would look like. But that being said, the design quality was on point, and it goes again to complement the special effects. like Ghost has a very specific, unique move set. Ghost has a very specific way of moving about the world and attacking or defending or whatever the case may be. Whereas you can see how different it is from Wasp and Ant-Man. So they just, when it comes to that part of it, like the directors, cinematographers, the special effects people, they really did their thing.
Yeah, and I love the effects around.
Yeah.
Like that was one thing where I would say it elevated her status from the comic books. Because it's one thing to be able to phase like a ghost, like, ooh, I'm a ghost. I phase like every other ghost in this world, right? But the way that they showed her, because her phasing is actually her out of phase. So it's a different type of phasing. So the way you've seen some of the effects in the trailers, but the way they show her literally being displaced from time and space and the way she moves around, it's ill visual effects. Like you're gonna think, like, for those of you who partake in natural herbal substances, dude, if you elevate your consciousness before going into this film and you watch her, you're probably gonna be able to do a Rubik's Cube in 7 seconds. Like seriously, but like the effects, I keep saying it, the effects were some of the best parts of this film, given everything else. Like they really stepped their game up effects wise to show the way the power